my mother, Catherine Lee McBrien, and my father, James McBrien. And I'm just going to be interviewing them with some questions for my Christian Existence project. So, how long have you two been married for?
22 years. We've been married for 22 years.
22 years.
Yes.
Nice, long and happy years. So how old would you say you guys were when you met each other?
I was 22. 22.
21.
Yeah.
That make me 21. Yes.
And what would you say was going on around that time?
Oh, we just started medical school. We met on the first day of medical school. So we were beginning our long, studious
Journey.
to become doctors.
Lovely. So how would you describe your courtship?
Marriage. Yeah, it was fairly natural. I mean, given I'd say, the circumstances, we ended up, the way we met was that we were actually partners for lab. That's how we met on the first day. And so we were together a lot each day, day in and day out. And so that's how we started to get to know one another. And then within a couple of months, we were actually officially dating, but and that continued more or less all the way through medical school until we got married.
Partners in crime. That's great.
Yeah, we were study
We
buddies.
were study bunnies.
You're my study buddy.
Alright.
Oh my.
So,
Perhaps we should
so
edit that.
project, alright. So, why did you decide to get married?
Because we were now adults and we loved each other. And we had a conversation about it too. We said, all right, what are we doing? We've been going together, for like 3 years, and we have this match. Like when you're in medical school, you try to match to a residency, and we had to make a decision about how we were going to do our match lists and what programs we'd consider. And so we talked about having a future together, and maybe making that next step in a commitment, a lifetime commitment. So that. With that in mind, then we were able to intelligently guide our choices about a match, about doing this match.
Where to do the residency. We both decided to stay in New York.
Right.
Get married.
So, what was your engagement scene like? How was that approached, and what was the plan behind it?
Well, if you've been paying any attention
In
this family,
casual.
no. If you've been paying any attention in our marriage,
Once
your
we
mother
do
and I usually we kind of put a lot of things off, and then all of a sudden everything happens all at once.
Yeah, once we
You
decide
got
to do
engaged and
something.
married very quickly. So.
Yeah.
We got engaged, and then I think 4 months later we got married.
Right, we got engaged right before the new year, and our wedding date was early April. And we graduated in May, and then we started our internships in September.
Yeah.
So,
That's sweet. What were you looking for in a spouse? Whether before you were dating or while you were already married?
While we were married, what were we looking for in a spouse?
I like someone who's likes me back and is awake, but not paying too close of attention.
I do remember when we were dating. I believe one of the things that he wanted, was to marry a school teacher.
Oh,
It's true. I thought, I said, all right, I want to marry a school teacher because I want someone who likes kids and is intelligent and has summers off.
And have weekends off.
Yeah, and I
Be
just,
home with the kids when they're home.
I was like, this is good. This is probably what I should be looking for, but it's funny because
You got just the opposite.
yeah.
Except for the intelligent.
I ended up getting someone who is also a physician and who values a lot of the same things I do and is in line with a lot of what I find interesting and enjoyable. So.
Would you say that made it easier being married?
I think
so many things in common, especially with the profession.
I think it made it easier in a sense of we understood what the other person was going through. So when we came home after a long day of work, the other person understood what the person went through. So
Yeah.
we were more accepting of their behaviors at home, meaning if they wanted some downtime for themselves, we respected that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, medical marriages have their own set of dynamics usually, and it can very much be a plus for that marriage if there is that understanding and there's a mirroring of you know, sort of the approach to medical practice, even if it's not in the same specialty, which we're
Right.
not, but that approach to healing, you know, sort of. And that's our Catholicism too, our faith is, you know, sort of the dignity of the person, honoring the image of God in the people, as, you know, whether it's challenging or easy, and upholding the standards of our profession, respectively, her specialty and mine. So I think that there's a mutual respect that we enjoy and share for one another as professionals. And on a deeper level, obviously, as husband and wife, because we understand the sacrifices that go into it, and the costs that are entailed, I think, respectively in our roles. Like, I don't know what it is to be the wife and the mother, but I have every regard and respect for your mother in that way. You know, also as a career person, you know, a career professional. And I feel the same way from her. I feel that she deeply regards my role as father and husband, as well as being a working professional. I think it enhances our respect for one another. I hadn't considered until you asked the question what it might be like if one of us was not really working as a physician, you know, in the same profession. Would there, like you said, would there be a mismatch or a misunderstanding of, you know, the behaviors or the needs of, you know, rest, downtime, or preparation time for, you know, doing a surgery or doing a presentation or whatever. So there is that understanding, I think, which strengthens our marriage. And if that wasn't there, I don't know that, you know, obviously we'd have a different dimension to our marriage. We'd be different. We'd be, you know, dealing with different sets of circumstances. But, you know, in marriage, the two people need to commit to one another, not really the circumstances.
they pretty much said it.
Oh, very good answer. Now, when you were thinking of just starting a family, obviously when you were married, like, were children in the conversation initially?
Of course.
Absolutely.
I said I wanted 4 kids.
She actually, I think it was between 4 and 6.
No, I didn't say 6. I said 4 kids that I wanted.
You talk to me. You talk to me.
I thought they were 6. At what point? We might have been joking. You said at least 3.
I said at least 3 because I came from 3.
Yeah.
I had 2 other siblings, and I enjoyed the fact that there was more than just 2. You could always go to one or the other. You didn't have only one sibling to go to.
Sure.
So I did like that. So I said 3, but 4 sounds better just to have more than even number.
Okay. Now what about you?
2.
No, I was just saying
2.
only 2 from the beginning. I was open to more. I said at least 2 because that was my experience. I grew up with 1 sibling. I had a sister. So, but I was like, oh, 3. Oh, okay. So, but I was open to it. I knew that, you know, we'd probably be making good enough living that we could comfortably raise a family of more than 2 kids or 3. But you know, you want to make God's life. You're telling me your plans. So we talked about those things, and then very shortly after we were married, we had our first baby, and that was very challenging because we needed them to live with Grandma and Grandpa, and
Daddy and I worked.
because we were in our residency, so we were working long hours. She was commuting. She was driving to Brooklyn every day from Long Island. I was taking the Long Island Railroad every day to Manhattan. And we were very fortunate and blessed to have your grandparents be healthy enough and willing enough to be engaged in extended family life under one roof for the first few years.
4 years.
Yeah, and yeah, so that's and then kids came after that. Your older sister begged you into existence. She cried and cried, just like everybody has siblings, everybody's got this, and she's like, I want a brother and sister,
And she got one.
yeah, we were
And then-
guilted into more children.
Yeah.
So it was tough this time. So
And then 2 more kids.
that's right. That's right.
So how would you say children have affected your marriage? Positively, negatively, honestly.
Honestly, should
Honestly?
you want to keep this running?
Really think about this.
So, I think that
It's only positive.
it's enriched
Yes.
our marriage. We're old enough now to see that there are marriages that are strong that have less kids, and there are marriages that are strong that have more kids. And yet there are also marriages that have failed that we've seen that have just as many kids as us, and others that have less. Some of the strongest couples that I've seen, married couples, are have no children, and that wasn't necessarily by choice, because when they got married, they were married in the Catholic faith, and part of their vows are to remain open to the gift of children. And that is a heartache that your mother and I have not had to know. And so we're very happy with the children that we have. The more, after a while you're like, oh, here's another one. Here's that, like they're sucking the life out of us, right? But that's sort of like what life and love is supposed to be, right? Right? It's supposed to be giving yourself to another person. That's marriage and that's family. So I think it definitely enhanced our lives. They're the supreme gift of marriage, our children.
Well, I'm happy to help.
The pleasure was all ours.
Would you say, like how important would you say is the differences of when you came back, or was that an issue or challenge at all from the way you guys grew up? Because we both came from vastly different households, but you still ended up in the same place and together. How would you say that affected you guys, or was it important, was it not important?
It's important. Your family history is important. Your experiences, what brings you to the point of being able to meet the other person and appreciate them, and then commit to their happiness, and they're both fair.
But I mean, we came from very different backgrounds, but we also had very similar ethics, work ethics, living basically how to live, how to work. So we were very similar in that way. So I don't think anything that your dad and I had to go through, like there weren't any clashes because of our different backgrounds.
Right.
But it did open up new worlds to him. Like, he'd never had sushi until 10 years into our marriage.
No, that's not true. Not 10 years. Was it 10? No.
Basically.
No, it was like 5.
Okay.
It was like 5.
Yeah, but we were dating for 4 years, like 3 to 4 years. So during that whole time, he refused. But it opened up a whole new world for him.
It saved the marriage.
You guys never went out while you were dating to get sushi?
He refused to eat sushi.
No, I'd get something that actually had a flame under it.
Yeah, he would have teriyaki, which is not really. We go to a Japanese restaurant, he'll go have teriyaki. I know.
Okay.
It took a long time.
She's-
But
Your mother's definitely broadened my horizons, and I hope
Okay.
I've returned the favor in some way.
he has, his spice and food, his desire for spices has increased over the years. Still not that much, but still. But he still can't eat a fish that has bones in it, unfortunately. I'm
So-
trying to teach, but
Say that the differences in background for us are obviously accentuated just by looking at our faces. and where you grow up, or what your family's history and heritage have been, and what the traditions are. And they actually go through a lot of that during pre-K now. They if you have not had the opportunity to explore some of those questions, like the questions that you're asking now, they're meant to be explored and talked about and considered in pre-K, as before you go ahead and you commit to having a valid sacrament, the sacramental marriage. Our pre-K was excellent, and I think it enhanced some of the communication we already had, and it actually allowed us to zero in on some of those things, like differences perhaps in our background, but like your mother said, like the unity of vision,
Right.
like
But
where
also,
that outlook of where you're going is
even though I
more
was of
important.
a, more of the Eastern background, I guess, but I was raised in the Catholic faith versus a lot of Asians are Buddhist
Or or they're like like some sort of Protestant.
or Protestant. But my parents were Catholics. My mother was actually born into the Catholic faith. My dad converted, but when we were young, before they got married. So for us, we were born into the Catholic faith. So that background was very similar.
Yeah.
So we didn't have religion to cause any issues. Like we had the same understanding.
That's good. Now, what would you say to a couple that was thinking before they're married about moving in with each other to get the feel of it? Would you say that's a good idea, a bad idea? Like, what are your thoughts?
I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay.
I don't think it's a good idea because when people end up living together like that, they invariably start having sex with one another. And sex brings a whole other dimension to a relationship, and it can really cloud people's judgments, right? Especially early on in the relationship, or early on in the sexual aspect of the relationship. You've often heard people talk about, it's like the honeymoon phase of either, a job or a marriage. And there's a reason. It's because it's like a rebirth and a rediscovery of the other person in a whole new way, right? So that's why the couple is supposed to often sort of have a time apart from the community. They're part of the community, but they're having a time apart. And it's meant for that kind of intimacy, to learn what it's like to live with the other person and to give that person space and to learn what boundaries there are. And that is a very special and sort of sacred time. And to do it, to try to maintain a household, I think, before really having that lifetime commitment, is harmful to the couple, but it's also harmful to any children that may be begotten as part of that union, because the purpose of matrimony is not to fulfill your own desires, and so it's to form a family, which is part of the community. Whether or not children spring from that union is a different story, but the expectation is that yes, when a man and a woman marry, that children will be the result, the fruit of that union, and children we know develop best in the presence of a father and a mother who are committed to one another. And when you're married, you're locked in. You should be locked in, for better or for worse, in sickness and health, for richer for poorer. There's that. There are those legal aspects, those societal aspects, not just the sacramental, laying down your life for your friend. But so much cohabitation has taken root in our culture, that it really has eroded the meaning and the understanding and the significance in many people's minds of what matrimony, what marriage is. But I just think it should highlight how important it is. I think personally, over the years we've heard a lot of compliments or whatever from different people. I think our marriage is the envy of a lot of people. We just live our life, but people point to us and they look at us and they're like, oh wow, you guys have it all. And we don't have it all,
We have a messy house.
but we have each other, we have our commitment, and we have our faith. And in that sense, we do have it all.
And for our last question, briefly, what advice would you give to a young married couple that is just thinking about starting a family or just starting the beginning phases of their marriage?
Be patient and understanding.
I would say that expect more sacrifice, but expect also greater joys, especially for the husband. He's got to remember, that up until the point that children arrive, you are the focus of your wife's attention.
Yes.
You're
And once
the
children
but once
arrive.
the child arrives, this new life, then the child becomes the focus of the mother's attention and affection, and then the husband can sort of feel left out,
Outcast.
like there's nothing left for him, like all the attention, all the energy is poured out on the baby and then the toddler, and then the husband may feel like, all right, well, I'm over here, and that is something I think that every marriage goes through. I don't think that's unique to any one marriage or any one man or woman. But knowing that that's coming is important, and I think that's why having a good courtship and a good period of time before children come, where there is automatically an understanding of sacrifice and understanding between one person and the other is really important and foundational to the success or not of their marriage. So knowing yourself, then knowing the other person, and then being willing, like it says in the gospel, to lay down your life for your friend, and your closest friends or your family.
Well, thank you very much. That's all the time we have, but thank you for giving me this opportunity to question you guys.
You're welcome. We're very happy to do it for you. We love you so.
Love you too.